I recently got the chance to watch Netflix's anime Terminator Zero, and I thought it was okay. The story focuses on a man named Malcolm Lee, who is developing an AI system named Kokomo, intended to compete with Skynet in 1997. The day before Judgment Day, Lee finds himself and his 3 children pursued by an unknown robot assassin and a mysterious soldier from the year 2022 who had been sent to protect him. And that does make for a really interesting story. I just wasn't engaged by said story as I was really hoping to be. I mean, the animation is beautiful, the action is wonderfully violent, the music is pretty good, the voice acting is great. Yes, I watched the show dubbed, but something about the series felt a little hollow to me. And I think that mostly has to do with the character development. Terminator Zero spends a lot of time focusing on its characters, which normally would be a good thing in any series. However, the characters in this show seem to be fixated on having superficial conversations about fate and humanity. So much time is spent philosophizing over man's place in the world that we don't really get a more personal or intimate look at the characters as individuals. And that is a damn shame because the characters in this story are pretty interesting ones. Malcolm, for example, is a deeply flawed and complex character. In trying to save the world and prevent the extinction of all mankind, he can come across as being a distant and cold-hearted dick to his own children. It's just too bad that he spends most of the show pondering whether humanity deserves to be saved in the first place. That's a moral discussion that's as old as humanity itself, and Terminator Zero doesn't exactly have anything to add to that conversation. So the show does a real disservice to its own characters by raising a bunch of surface level moral questions. I especially didn't care for the questions that involved fate, since that question was answered way back in 1991, and it's been the very backbone of this franchise ever since. You know, the future is not set. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. That is obviously an incredibly iconic line, and anytime Terminator Zero tried to contradict this line, or provide an alternate take on the line, I couldn't help but want to roll my eyes. I mean, I get that the showrunners were trying to provide the narrative with some depth, but Terminator Zero just isn't as profound as it probably wants to be. Which is a shame, because I think we could have gotten stronger character insights if the show didn't try so hard to be so deep. But I still had some fun with this series. After all, watching Terminator Zero reminded me of the other anime shows that I used to watch on Toonami when I was a kid. Only Terminator Zero happened to be way more brutal than anything else that I used to watch. So the show does have plenty of redeeming qualities. I was just personally disappointed by it since it failed to captivate me the way that I wanted it to. Now, to let you know where I stand with the rest of the Terminator franchise, I think the original Terminator is absolutely fantastic. Terminator Judgment Day is one of the best movies in all of cinematic history. Terminator Rise of the Machines is fine. Terminator The Sarah Connor Chronicles is also fine. Terminator Salvation I do happen to like more than most people. Terminator Genesis is definitely bad, and Terminator Dark Fate is technically well made, but is also incredibly infuriating. And if I were to rate Terminator 0, I would probably say that it's better than Dark Fate and Genesis, but probably somewhere in between Rise of the Machines and the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which is technically the best that the franchise has been in years, though that wasn't exactly a high bar to pass in the first place. Still, even if it didn't happen to be the return to form that I was hoping for, I think Terminator 0 proved to be a worthy addition to this iconic sci-fi franchise. And since it did feature some surprisingly fun twists and turns, I would actually like to see where a second season of the show could go. So even in spite of all of my issues with the series, Terminator 0 would still get a mild recommendation from me. And I appreciate anyone who stuck around to hear my full thoughts on this series, so as always, thanks for watching.